Welcome to episode 14 of Production Leadership Unscripted. The real reason good employees stop caring before they quit. Most managers think employees quit on Friday. In reality, they've quit 6 months earlier. Just let that settle in. It's not the resignation day. It's the fact that months and months, even years prior, you as the manager, you as the leader have allowed them to get to this point where they resign. It's happened to me as a manager. I've allowed people to get to the point of resigning. Today on Production Leadership Unscripted, I will go through 5 warning signs as well as how you can overcome these issues. Number 1, they stop bringing you good ideas. Naturally, when you think about a good employee, they want to bring you good ideas. They're always interested in being involved. And if you've got any sort of continuous improvement tracking system, you can see this by looking at some of those top employees that are starting to give less and less ideas. It's a good indicator of something is going on. They've lost engagement. After enough ignored ideas, they've given up. So if you think about it, really think about when you ignore someone's ideas. Unfortunately, as a shop floor leader, or whichever department, whichever organization you're running, you have to consider that when somebody comes and talks to you and brings you a suggestion, it's very meaningful to them. It's difficult to have to sit through it sometimes and listen, but that's the way that you maintain these employees being engaged, not giving up. So when ideas, if you think yourself, you bring up ideas, you bring up suggestions to your manager, and if all of them get ignored, all of them are not acted on, not even one, you're going to start being uninterested, you're going to start giving up, and you're not going to be willing to invest in the company mentally. And this is what happens to top employees when their ideas are ignored. If you run a shop floor and want practical tactics every week, please hit the subscribe button, and I will be sharing new content each week, as well as some shorts in terms of ways that you can deal with and even, understand some of the common battles that happen on the shop floor. Number 2, they do only what they're asked. So originally, that employee has been there for 3 years. When they started, they were very eager, motivated, new job. You ask them, hey, can you go set this machine? Can you deal with this tooling issue? And they're very eager. If anything, they're not only doing that, they're looking at the documentation, maybe setup sheets, setup packages, they're updating those as well. A lot of engagement, a lot of ownership of the issues and things that are going on. High performers go beyond their job, and that's pretty typical. Engaged employees go above and beyond their job. When they start being disengaged, they're not necessarily going above and beyond anymore. They're doing the bare minimum. If anything, they're becoming robotic. So it's really critical that you're aware of these things, especially if you know your employees and you understand how they typically work and you see things changing. Those could be clues to, maybe talk to that employer or see how you've been interacting, if you've been ignoring their suggestions. It's really critical. As well, good employees, they help their coworkers. They take ownership. So when there's issues going on, they're over there helping their coworkers. But as they become disengaged more and more, they're less interested to help their coworkers. Number 3, their enthusiasm disappears. once again, they do the bare minimum. They're not, similarly to the second item which I talked about, again, their enthusiasm disappears. They're uninterested. They do the bare minimum. But, the enthusiasm, which was once there long ago, is now completely lost. You have to be extremely aware of your employees, especially your critical employees. Number 4, they stop challenging bad decisions. You know yourself, if you've been in a company for, it's not usually at the start, when you get into a company, you're sort of playing it safe. But as you become further along in your company, and if you're a leader of a shop floor and let's say you've put in some policies, you've put in certain things, you know yourself, when, as you get, ingrained in your company, that when there's bad decisions or things that are going to impact what you've put in place, you're going to challenge those when you're motivated and engaged in the company. Well, similarly, your good employees, when you go to them, and I'm talking the employees have been there for, let's say, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when you go to those employees and they're challenging you on your ideas and you're having some good debate, you know that they're engaged and that they care about their job, and that they care about the quality that's going to their customer, the delivery dates that are going to the customer. There's a caring side of them. But when, whether you've made some bad decisions, or you hear others making bad decisions within your company and they're not challenging those anymore, there's a possibility that they've lost enthusiasm for the company that they work for. Number 5, they start looking outside the company. And, typically I'm within companies for about 3 to 5 years. The first company I was there for 11 years, but I left due to downsizing. But typically I've been at companies for about 3 to 5 years. So if you're similarly in the same boat, you understand, moving around, and you typically start looking outside when you're becoming disengaged in the company. Perhaps somebody new's come in the company, or there's some major changes and decisions, or you're not looking like there's any further avenue for you to grow in the company. You start looking outside. Well, the same thing happens to those top employees that are critical to your company, critical to deliveries, quality, and holding the company systems together. They're going to start looking outside the company, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be 1 week or 2 weeks before they resign. First, they're going to become disengaged, which happens over a period of time through those other reasons I mentioned. They're going to be curious to just see, go on in LinkedIn or Indeed or whichever career sites are in your area. They're going to start looking at those career sites, and then they're going to start connecting with past coworkers, perhaps at a previous company that they left. Maybe they might be interested to go back. So they're going to start connecting with past coworkers. If they've got a LinkedIn account, they're going to start updating their LinkedIn account, making sure everything's accurate, making sure their current job position is accurate. And then the search begins. And as I mentioned, the disengagement happens for a period of time, and then you go into a point of starting to look, and as I know, it takes a lengthy period of time to actually find a position that's available that also matches up with what you're looking for and enough incentive to leave the company. So those are some of the steps that employee is going to go through as they transition out. And the same thing, if you've transitioned out of companies, you probably went through similar types of paths and stages on the exit plan. Now, we're talking about why these employees are leaving your company. Um, we went through some of the key warning signs, but some of the things that are reasons why poor performers face no consequences. So you've got those employees who have high scrap, inefficient, always talking, never actually running their machine. Machine has low utilization time. Why? Equipment never gets fixed. So you've got machines that are constantly leaking or creating a lot of mist in the, let's say if you're in a machine shop, coolant mist in the air, and employees are getting frustrated with that and things aren't getting fixed, or you've always got run out on this machine and it's never getting addressed, and the employee always has to try to overcome that in other ways. Overtime becomes an expectation. So once again, your top employees, they're having to do all the overtime to basically help you get out of a bind, whether it's late deliveries, scrap, doing rework. Managers fail to follow through. So if you're always saying yes to everything, you're always saying, yeah, I'll get to that, and you're not actually doing it, well, you're not following through. One thing that I'm very cautious on, which I try to be cautious on, and I'm not always perfect, is I try not to promise things unless I know I can commit to it. As much as that employee might want something or a new position or training, you can't do everything. Even yourself, you want certain things and you're not necessarily able to get those things from your manager. The same is true for any employee. So you can't please everybody all the time. So don't promise the world to everybody, because that's going to create a lot more frustration than saying, sorry, I can't get to it. Something within your control, training opportunities disappear. So there's the ability to cross-train people, to train them to the next level and indicate to them, we don't have a position open right now, but if you're interested and you're really motivated to, you're an operator, you want to become a junior setter or a setup tech, well, I can, you can say, okay, I can put you through some cross-training, some training plans. We don't have any positions open, but if you're interested and that's a motivation for you, then we can do that. Again, you're providing a pathway for them to learn more, but you're not promising that they're going to be a setup, because if you've got 100 people in your shop, they can't all be setup people. People have to run the machines as well. That's the reality of an organization. Everybody can't be the same position. You can't have 100 general managers or presidents of your company. It's the reality. But you can provide cross training. As well, as I mentioned earlier, employee feedback is ignored. So employees coming up to you, giving you feedback, and you're always downplaying it all the time. Once again, you can't promise the world, but you can fix a few of those things. And you need to pick and choose and try to fix things as you have time. Just don't disregard all feedback. Try to fix some of those things. Your employee base is the most critical asset to your company. Now, I'm going to give you an action plan. When you go into work tomorrow, I want you to conduct a gap analysis. So put aside 1 hour. This part of the video is the most critical. So put aside 1 hour of your day, take your employee list, put it in a spreadsheet. So you got column A in your Excel or Google Sheets, whatever. So column A is your employee list. So all the names of your employees. Now in column B, you're going to rate each employee by their criticism to the business. Now number 2, you're going to rate each employee by their criticality to the business. So that will be in column B. So how critical are they to the business? Again, you're going to put, you could put it based on a rating of 1, 2, and 3. So if they're extremely critical, you could put 1, less critical 3. You're going to rate, if you have 100 people, you have 10 people, whatever it is, you're going to rate everybody in column B. Now, the third column, column C, you're going to identify any employees who are single point failures. So if you have one guy who's a welder and he's the only welder in your company, and if you didn't have him in the company, you would miss 10% of your shipments. Well, he's an extremely critical person. So again, you can rate, you can, perhaps put a 1 if they're a single point failure, and a 0 if they're not. So you can rate it like that if you want. Again, this is just a general way of doing this. Then you're going to basically sort by the most critical. So pick the top 10%. So if you have 100 people, pick the top 10 people that are most critical and or single point failures. Pick only, let's say, 10%. In this case, 10 of 100 people. Now you're going to meet with those most critical and single point failure people, and you're going to get some frustration. You're going to get some feedback on basically asking them one question: what is the one thing that frustrates them the most? So at the end of this, you should have 10 people's names on a sheet and the thing that frustrates them the most. So you should have 10 frustrations, and perhaps some of those might be overlapping. Of those 10 people, 5 people might have said the same thing: the machines always leak. That's something you can tackle. You can start looking at. If you can't fix the machines, perhaps you can bring in absorbent material and a system that they can put absorbent material, socks or whatever, cloths down, and there's a place to put those. But anyways, you've got 10 things you can work on to try to reduce the impact to employees leaving. And once you get through that, if it takes you 3 months to get through that, you can go back to those people, say, hey, this is what I did based on your frustrations and trying to make this company a better place. So again, this is just some of my insight, experience working in different companies. Again, I'm not perfect. I am a production manager, and I go through the same issues that you do leading your shop floor. Have you seen a good employee, mentally check out before they resign? Put it down in the comments. Let me know in the comments, and then we can have some conversation back and forth on your particular scenarios, and maybe I have some insight on situations that I've had. In the next video, we're going to talk about why good employees hate working with poor performers and why that drives more turnover than most managers realize.